It is a special privilege for me to be here with you, the employees, friends, and well-wishers of the Customs and Excise Department as you commemorate 60 years of dedicated service, innovation, and advancement. I had the opportunity Sunday last to worship with you, and it was an especially delightful service. I want us to give the choir of the Methodist Church in Charlestown a round of applause for excellent renditions in your honor. Although a select number of customs officers will be awarded tonight, I want to commend all of you, our customs and excise employees, both past and present, who have played your part in making the department everything that it is today, a bona fide winner. Your dedicated service has helped establish the Customs and Excise Department's reputation as an industry leader. The praise for the department is not coming from me, and neither is it only coming from local brokers and traders or freight forwarders. It also emanates out of reports issued by prestigious international organizations such as the World Bank Group. And you heard before that the World Bank's 2017 Doing Business report ranked St. Kitts and Nevis out of all countries in the English-speaking Caribbean as the best facilitator of processing cross-border trade. This is a huge international accolade that is often overlooked in an examination of our overall ranking. But when we look at the various factors across which we are evaluated, it is important to note that there is a shining light, and our Customs and Excise Department stands proudly as number one, better than all the rest. Our processing times are ahead of the Latin American and Caribbean average. The report found, for instance, that while it takes 65 hours on average to process documents and clear goods at Latin American and Caribbean ports, it takes 37 hours on average at St. Kitts and Nevis's ports. That is, we are 57% less in time, or 1.5 days here in St. Kitts, as opposed to roughly 3 days on average elsewhere. We are doing very well in that regard. The businessmen and women will say time equals money, and shorter processing times enable the department customers to quickly go about their business of being productive, making money, and keeping their own customers happy and satisfied, and yet having sufficient time to attend to other activities. Our Eastern Caribbean Central Bank report indicates that our economy here in St. Kitts and Nevis has been growing year after year, 4 years in a row, from 2015 to 2018, and that our economy will do even better in the medium term. Our Customs and Excise Department has been doing its fair share of growth and must continue to do so. You would recall that I told you on Sunday last that as at the 18th of October 2018, this department had collected $139.2 million. And this compares favorably well with the $126 million collected for the comparative period of 2017. In other words, we are up as at the 18th of October, 11% over last year's collections. Remarkably, all of this took place in the context of no new taxes for which the Customs and Excise Department is responsible to collect. What this means in another language is that the department's administrative efficiency, which has been recognized in the World Bank's report, is improving year on year. So give yourselves a round of applause for such excellent performance. It's important that we look at the revenue collecting function of the Customs and Excise Department. And indeed, one of the persons that gave the intellectual weight to the role of the Customs Department is a son of a soil in Alexander Hamilton, who was born in Nevis. Hamilton, of course, you would be aware, immigrated to America in October of 1772, and he became one of its founding fathers and its first Treasury Secretary. Writing in the Federalist Papers on the 28th of December, 1787, Alexander Hamilton wrote, "How is it possible that a government half supplied and always necessitous can fulfill the purposes of its institution, can provide for the security, advance the prosperity, or support the reputation of the Commonwealth?" I repeat, how is it possible that a government half supplied, in other words, inadequately resourced, and always necessitous, always having things to do, can fulfill the purposes of its institution, can provide for security? And we here know that security costs money, or so the Financial Secretary reminds me. Advance the prosperity or support the reputation of the Commonwealth. Those are still critical questions that we have to answer. In the year 1801, Hamilton delivered a stirring and important address to the electors of the state of New York. And he had this to say, advancing the theory, the fundamental value of the revenue collecting function of Customs Department. He said, as to taxes, they are evidently inseparable from government. You want to repeat that? As to taxes, they are evidently inseparable from government. It is impossible without them to pay the debts of the nation, to protect it from foreign danger, or to secure individuals from lawless violence or rapine. Important. 1801, Hamilton was postulating the argument for taxes, fundamental to the functioning of government, that the necessaries that every government has to do could only be done with an adequate flow of tax revenues. Without them, he says, the government cannot do the basic things. It cannot pay the debts. It cannot protect us from foreign danger. And it cannot secure individuals from lawless violence and rapine. Hamilton acknowledged that both consumption and collections would be greater when taxes were, quote, confined within proper and moderate bounds, end of quote. This, he says, forms a complete barrier against material oppression of the citizens. This then is the standard theoretical frame that undergird even modern-day tax policies everywhere. So over the last 4 years, as if we had held this as a Bible, our government has not introduced a new tax. We have relied on administrative efficiencies, the encouragement of voluntary compliance, and other mechanisms to buttress tax revenue. Indeed, we have reduced taxes on food and medicine and funeral expenses. And we have granted, yes, we have granted amnesties and property taxes. And we continue that to the end, I think, of December 2018. Indeed, it was this compassionate worldview which Hamilton guided us to that led us in part to reduce and remove the 17% VAT from food and medicines way back in April 2015. And notwithstanding that, today and tomorrow, and every week we shall be able to say our fiscal house is in order. The fiscal house of St. Kitts and Nevis stands as the best managed house anywhere in the Caribbean at this particular moment in time. And you, the people of the country, must feel proud of such magnificent achievement. That is why today, having paid attention to our debt, as we were guided and instructed by the treaties of Hamilton, we could say, of all the countries in the Eastern Caribbean, St. Kitts and Nevis is the first to have reached the international benchmark of debt to GDP of 60%, and we have done so 12 years ahead of the target of 2030. So we have taken good advice and wisdom that have come through the years about how to manage, how we help, guide, and lead and support our revenue collection agencies. I am proud of what has been accomplished, and everywhere people now are looking to us to seek advice and support, that how the smallest country in the Western Hemisphere can lead big and small in fiscal management. And as you look yonder and not so far elsewhere, to appreciate the difficulties that other countries are having at this time, you must marvel that it's God's blessing plus a prudent management of the country that get us here. There was a time not so long ago when Barbados was being put forward as the example of the best managed state in the region. It was an exemplar. Today and tonight as we are talking, Barbadians are going home. Come next week, 2,500 of them, because the basic principle outlined in the advice of Hamilton, that revenues have to come in the coffer of the states to be able to do the necessaries. They have found that mismatch, that they can't sustain the level of their civil service. And while they are doing that, what is happening in St. Kitts and Nevis in contrast, 2 years in a row, we were able to pay our civil servants, including you in customs and excise, a double salary, 2 years back to back in a row. Nowhere else in the world has it happened. Something good is happening in the country. And we don't know what will happen this year. We don't know. But in time, because the end of year is not yet here. 60 years of dedicated service, innovation and advancement on the part of the St. Kitts and Nevis Customs and Excise Department have contributed to the building of the nation in a manner akin to the prediction of Alexander Hamilton, a now famous son of the soil. Hamilton had predicted more than 230 years ago that a vibrant U.S. Customs Service would do the same to his adopted homeland. For the work of our Customs and Excise, I want to say thank you on behalf of the government and country, and for the leadership of Alexander Hamilton in this area, we will always remember. I want to commend all of you who dutifully carry out the Customs and Excise Department's mandate to protect and collect. For the benefit of all of our citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis, I want to reiterate again tonight that the Customs and Excise Department is tasked with protecting the security and integrity of the country's borders, specifically ensuring that no goods, including weapons or drugs, enter St. Kitts and Nevis illegally. It is the primary agency in the government responsible for suppressing smuggling activities through intelligence-based operations and close cooperation with local, regional, and international law enforcement authorities. Indeed, the Customs and Excise Department not only protects our borders, but it also protects and bolsters our country's financial foundation. Given that St. Kitts and Nevis is classified as a high-income country, we are not eligible for concessional financing. Therefore, most of our capital expenditures have to be funded by our own revenue collections. And it goes back again to what Hamilton was saying 230 years ago. Nothing is new. It may be new to us. But when we look at that treatise 230 years ago, the man said to us, government can't function without a revenue base. And that is what you do, to do the necessaries. So the roads that we are building, no development aid. The poverty alleviation program, which we will launch before year end, our own revenue. And we are able to do these things and more because we have managed the resources well. We have avoided squandermania. We have kept faith with the citizens and then in good measure determined the ability to pay more. And so we are moving ahead, satisfying all those things that are in the rubric of the government to do. And we are doing it from our own revenue. Just this week, the Minister of Agriculture spoke to the universal health insurance coverage. We are doing that to ensure affordable and accessible health out of our own revenue. No godfather, only prudent managers of the resources of the country. We are building a Coast Guard headquarters, no godfather, out of our own revenues. We are building a new customs enforcement building annex out of our own revenues. Point I'm attempting to make, we could identify here, there, and everywhere where the resources of the country are going. We are collecting it, and we are preserving it, and we are using it in a timely manner to fulfill our contract with the people. So again, in closing, I want to say a hearty thank you to all our revenue collection employees, as well, of course, to our citizens and residents for the much improved compliance that we have been seeing in recent times. I encourage the public to continue working with our professional and courteous customs and excise officers and other collections officials so that together, I repeat, together, we can build an even more solid foundation for you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, not just for us now, but for our children and their children coming after. To all who are being awarded tonight for your long and meritorious service, I extend hearty congratulations on behalf of the federal government and the Nevis Island administration. Your dedicated service is an example to each and every one of the employees in our civil service. I must highlight and acknowledge Keston Herbert, who is the winner of the 60th anniversary slogan competition. We salute you, sir, for a job well done. Equally, I want to congratulate all the other awardees, in particular those who have given so much of their life in service to the Customs and Excise Department. Keith Lefred Hendrickson, give him a round of applause. Eli Webb and our chairperson Calvin Powell, all of them stand out for long and meritorious service. And since part of the mandate is to protect and serve, we are delighted to recognize the outstanding work of 4 persons named here for most interdictions for the last 3 years. Bijan Griffin, Kurt Liebert, Kamoy Carey, and Nichivon Brown. So we thank them all. And indeed, I couldn't sit, having had the honor to announce on Independence Day that the best performing group on our Independence Parade were the Customs and Excise. And the winners of that drill are listed as Sharima Stanley, Kajali Gums, Glenroy Phillip, and Darius Bedford. We give all of them again a round of applause. And finally, to my good friend Donald Cable, Rodney Harris, my family, Norman Williams in absentia, Sidney Williams and Hubert S. Stanley, on behalf of us and the country, we say thank you for your contribution to this very important department. May God bless all in the Customs and Excise Department, and most importantly, may God continue to bless the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. This country I love. This country we love. This country is a blessed country, and we must count our blessings. Count them one by one. It will surprise you what God has done for us. Thank you. May God continue to bless us all.